Hello, it's Karen, the Weekend Craftaholic. Thanks for joining me. I'm starting a brand new pocket page notebook today, and this is going to be dedicated to everything crafting. So I've started my front title page and I've printed some text on some vellum sheets here, and I've left a bit of a gap at the top because I thought I would use some alphas just to make a little header called My Craft Room, My Happy Place. So what I'm doing now is actually just looking for some pattern paper to go behind that, because I really love the effect that that gives. And I'm just flicking through and trying to find one that's not too busy, not too patterny, but more of a subtle effect behind it. Now I love this little collection by Echo Park, but I wish I'd have got some of the 12 by 12 sheets now, because as much as I love the 6 by 6 sheet, of course my traveller's notebook is 8 inches tall, so I always end up with this little gap, which is why I thought what I would do is try and just match up some of these pieces together. So you can see this one's got quite a nice pattern on it, and I thought that might make a nice header if I can try and centralize it and use it as a bit of a focal point behind that vellum. Obviously if I wasn't using the vellum it probably wouldn't work, it would look a bit too obvious, but I think having the vellum over the front just hides it a little bit and it looks almost like a little bit of a title card or a header in itself. Now I should probably have just cut this right the first time, because I spend way too much time backwards and forwards to my paper trimmer, which is just off camera, just trying to get it just right, and that's because I do want to try and centralize that image in the middle. I also realised later on, because I try and trim it down more and more, that I probably should have just trimmed the bottom of the dotted paper underneath, because I do end up losing some of that pattern at the top. Now I've been using this Elmer's glue for a while now instead of the tape runner, because I love the way it allows you to slide the paper around and get the placement just right. It does tend to crinkle the paper a little, but once it's dried it's absolutely fine. Now off camera you can see I've just stitched the top of that sheet onto the vellum piece, and I've used some nice pink thread for that in a zigzag stitch just to make it stand out a little more, and I've also stitched the bottom as well, even though it's not actually attaching to anything, just to give that top and bottom continuity as well. So that's my first page done more or less, but then I realised, as I say, my plan was going to be to have a little alpha at the top to say My Craft Room, My Happy Place, but then having that mix of a pattern paper at the top I feel it's not going to work too well. So I do have these frames and tags, which is from the same collection that I've been obviously trying to work my way through as well. So I'm just having a look through those to see if there's anything that I could use. Now I really like this little quote, "Life is so good," but it feels like it's probably just a little bit too small for that space. So I do find this other one which says, "I can't, I'm crafting today," and again that's a great sentiment that I really want to use. I really like the shape of it as well, it adds a little bit more interest than a normal square or circle. And then that's my intro page done. I'm quite happy with that, it looks pretty cute, I like the colours, and I'm ready to move on now to the inside layout. So I did go ahead and take a few photographs, just different pictures of my craft room, and I have typed up some more little paragraphs, this time just on a plain piece of just normal copy paper actually, because I didn't want anything too thick. And I'm just again flicking through this little pad and looking for something that would make a nice background against the white paper. So I've decided on this little pink one. There wasn't much point using any of the sheets that have got some nice graphics, crafting graphics, because you'll not see much of it. I just really wanted that pink outline. And I'm just cutting that out while it's still attached to the pad so it doesn't become a loose sheet. So that's my little title card done. Now unfortunately I didn't get the placement quite right on the camera, so apologies for that, but the photographs that I do have that are going to go in the actual pocket page, I did actually glue 2 pages back to back on this, and then I realised after I'd done that I really should have just used this extra piece of vellum. I didn't get the printer settings right at all when I was printing this out. It should have been an 8x4. So that 8x4 vellum sheet acts as a good placeholder for it inside the pocket page notebook. I did consider using my fuse tool, but then I really couldn't be bothered, to be honest. And the fact that I already had the vellum sheet on the desk was just made me think of using it. So I've grabbed my distress ink here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of colour to this vellum just to make it stand out a little bit more. I really should use my colours a lot more, my inks. I don't know why I don't actually, because I do enjoy the process of it. But yeah, it's a really good way of adding a little bit of interest to that vellum and making that colour stand out inside the pocket page itself. So just doing some finishing touches on that now, and I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. And all that's left to do with that really is just to stick it in. And then I've also got my page on the back side as well, ready to go for my next layout. And now it's time to focus on the top half of my layout, and I'm just having a look through these frames and tags just to get some ideas of where I can use these pieces as well. At this stage I wasn't sure if I was going to actually put some pattern paper behind it, maybe just leave it white, but I do spend a bit of time just flicking through, and I'm trying to look for something that's got the pink tones as well as some of the green tones, which is the colour of the walls of my craft room. So I know I've got these pads, and I definitely want to make sure that I've got a full piece, so I don't have too many 6x8 paper pads, but I'm working my way through those and just having a look for something that would be suitable. I don't want anything too busy, but I do want to make sure that I get those colours right now that I have coloured in the pink of the vellum. I really love that pink and green paper, but it is just a bit too loud and a bit too busy to complement the picture below. But I'm sure I'll use that in another spread soon. So I do find this one, and this is actually a perfect one for me because I am going to use some alphas on this top sheet, and I'm terrible at doing alphas, keeping them nice and straight. So I'm hoping those lines on the paper will help guide me. Now, rather than go with my original quote of "my craft room, my happy place," I've decided to replicate the quote that I liked that I was originally going to use on the front sheet, which is "life is so good." So you can see here now I'm just putting those in place and using those little guidelines as well, just to make sure I space it out nice and even. Now it's only when I finish actually putting these in place that you can probably see the obvious mistake, but I only actually saw it after I'd finished, and I'd realised I'd spelt "so" wrong, so I wanted to spell it S-E-W rather than S-O. Just to bring that sewing theme in. So life is so good, that's my quote. Just using the Elmer's glue again just to put that in place so I can wriggle it around a little, and I'm really liking the look of that now. I do feel it needs a little bit more pink, so I'm just using the same pink that I used on the vellum, but only in these two corners instead this time. And I'm just going to get out some of these little puffy stickers as well. Again, just using the ones in a similar colour, just to bring out a little bit of interest on that page. And now I'm also going to add a couple of these puffy stickers at the bottom just to tie it all together. It's a pity I don't have the same colour, but I'm trying to use similar colours to what I've used in the layout. And then all that's left for me to do is to glue this as well on the top. Now I am using my tape runner this time so it sticks nice and firm. And I'm really loving the idea of having a little notebook dedicated to crafting. I love anything to do in my craft room, so I'm always taking photographs, and it's a great way of documenting this as well. So I hope you enjoyed that and given you some inspiration for your own spreads and ideas for notebooks.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you've got any comments about this video, please leave them below. I'd love to see them. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. That way YouTube knows to recommend similar ones for you. And finally, if you'd like to see more from me, and I hope so, please subscribe by clicking the link below. I post new content every weekend.